first thing I saw Monday morning was my daughter-in-law screaming in my driveway while a tow truck slowly dragged my black Mercedes onto a flatbed. Neighbors stood frozen on their lawns. Her parents sat on my porch holding suitcases. And my son looked at me like he'd just realized he never really knew who I was. 3 days earlier, I still believed I had a family. I'm 62 years old. Widow. Retired nurse. The kind of woman who spent 35 years waking up before sunrise to help strangers survive their worst days. I raised my son Daniel alone after my husband died from a stroke when Daniel was 9. I worked double shifts, missed birthdays, slept in hospital break rooms. I sacrificed everything so that boy could grow up soft where life had made me hard. And for a long time, I thought it was worth it. Then Daniel married Vanessa. The first year, she was charming in the way people are when they're auditioning for comfort. She called me Mom, brought flowers every Sunday, hugged me tightly, complimented my house every time she visited. But charm without respect eventually slips. You always see it too late. The little things started first. She'd open my refrigerator without asking, borrow my clothes, rearrange my kitchen cabinets because she thought my system was outdated. Then came the comments. You're lucky Daniel still visits this much. You should really think about downsizing. You don't need such a nice car at your age. That car mattered to me more than anyone understood. It was the last thing my husband ever bought before he died. A black Mercedes S-Class. Beautiful, elegant, timeless. He used to wash it every Sunday morning while singing old Frank Sinatra songs off-key. After he passed, I kept it pristine. It wasn't about money. It was memory. Vanessa never understood the difference. 2 years ago, Daniel lost his job in tech after company layoffs. Vanessa worked part-time online selling luxury skincare products she mostly bought herself. Money got tight, so I let them move into my guest house temporarily. Temporary is one of the most dangerous words in the English language. At first, I didn't mind helping, then her parents arrived. Apparently, they were just visiting from Arizona. That visit somehow turned into 6 weeks. 6 weeks of extra groceries, extra noise, extra opinions. Her father drank expensive whiskey from my cabinet without asking. Her mother criticized everything from my curtains to my cooking. And Vanessa acted like I should feel honored hosting them. One Friday afternoon, I came home from lunch with an old friend and noticed my garage empty. At first, I thought maybe I'd forgotten where I parked. Age plays tricks on you sometimes. Or at least that's what people love implying once your hair turns gray. Then I saw Vanessa walking out of the guest house in giant sunglasses carrying shopping bags. Where's my car? She barely looked up. Oh, we borrowed it. We borrowed. I stared at her. You borrowed my Mercedes? Relax, she laughed. Mom and Dad wanted to see Napa before they fly home. My chest tightened. You took my car to another state without asking me. It's just a car. That sentence changed everything. I walked closer slowly. No, it's my car. She rolled her eyes like a teenager. You weren't using it. I remember the exact silence after that. Birds chirping, wind moving through the trees. My pulse pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. Then I asked the question that mattered. Did Daniel know? Her smirk faded slightly. He said it was fine. That hurt more than the theft. Not because of the car, because my son knew how much that car meant to me. That night, Daniel came home around 9. I was sitting alone in the dark kitchen. He knew immediately. Mom, you gave her permission? He sighed like I was exhausting him. It's not a big deal. I laughed once, a sharp little laugh that even scared me. You know what your father said the day he bought that car? Daniel looked away. He said one day when life finally slows down, we'll drive across America together. Silence. He died 3 weeks later. Daniel rubbed his face. Mom, Vanessa's parents are guests. In my home. They just wanted a nice weekend. With my property. You're overreacting. There it was. The sentence every ungrateful child eventually uses when they no longer want to feel guilty. Overreacting. I looked at him for a long time. Then I said quietly, bring my car back tonight. He hesitated. They already checked into a hotel. I nodded slowly. Then they can check out. He got angry then, real angry. Why are you acting like this? Like this? As if boundaries were violence, as if respect was optional. I stood up. Because somewhere along the line, all of you forgot this isn't your house. He stared at me, then said the one thing I still hear in my nightmares. Maybe if you weren't so controlling, people would actually enjoy being around you. That one landed deep, because when your own child says something cruel, part of you always wonders if it's true. I didn't cry in front of him. I just nodded. Okay, that was all. Okay, he thought the conversation ended there. He had no idea his entire life was about to change. I barely slept that weekend, not from anger, from clarity. Sometimes betrayal removes the last illusion you were clinging to. Sunday evening around 6, my Mercedes finally rolled into the driveway. Dirty, fast food wrappers inside, scratches on the rear bumper, and nearly 300 extra miles. Vanessa climbed out laughing with her mother while Daniel carried wine bottles from the trunk. Nobody apologized, not one person. Her father tossed me the keys casually. Drive smooth for an old car. Old car. I looked at the scratches. My husband's car damaged by people who treated my kindness like entitlement. Vanessa noticed my expression and sighed dramatically. Oh my God, don't start. That's when something inside me went cold. Not hot. Cold, hot anger screams, cold anger plans. I smiled, a small smile. You're right, I said softly. No point starting now. That night, while they slept in my guest house, I sat alone at my dining table with a glass of wine and every document related to my property spread in front of me. The guest house utilities, insurance, car registration, the trust, everything. You see, people make dangerous assumptions about older women. They assume softness means weakness. They assume kindness means stupidity. But I spent decades watching families destroy each other in hospital rooms over money, property, resentment, and ego. I learned something important. Never threaten, just act. Monday morning at 6:30, I made 3 phone calls. The first was to my lawyer. The second was to my insurance company. The third was to a towing company. By 8:15, chaos had arrived. Vanessa came running outside in silk pajamas screaming while the tow truck operator secured the Mercedes. What the hell is happening? I stepped onto the porch holding coffee. The vehicle was taken without owner authorization across state lines by unapproved drivers. Insurance requested inspection. Her face went pale. You reported us? No, I said calmly. I reported unauthorized use of my property. Daniel stormed outside next. Mom, stop this right now. I looked directly at him. Did you have permission to lend my vehicle? Silence. That silence answered everything. The tow truck driver avoided eye contact. Her parents stood near the guest house whispering furiously. Vanessa exploded. You're humiliating us! I took a sip of coffee. No, your behavior did that. Then came the second surprise. A white van pulled into the driveway behind the tow truck. 2 movers stepped out. Daniel frowned. What's this? I handed him an envelope. Inside was a formal 30-day eviction notice for the guest house. His face drained of color. You can't be serious. I am. Vanessa ripped the paper from his hands. You're throwing us out? You said I was controlling, I replied calmly. So I figured everyone would be happier with independence. Her mother suddenly marched forward. After everything family has done for you? I almost laughed. And for me? I turned toward her slowly. You drank my liquor, insulted my home, damaged my car, and overstayed your welcome by 41 days. Nobody spoke. Then Daniel tried a different approach. Guilt. Mom, we're struggling. I know. You know the housing market is awful. I know. Then why are you doing this? That question almost broke me because part of me still saw the little boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. But adults reveal themselves through choices, and his choices had become painfully clear. I looked him in the eyes. Because helping someone who respects you is generosity. Helping someone who uses you is self-destruction. Vanessa scoffed. This is about a stupid car. No, I said quietly. This is about the moment you stop seeing me as a person. Silence again, heavy silence. The kind that forces truth into the room whether people want it or not. Daniel rubbed his forehead. Can we at least talk inside? We've been talking for 2 years. Then I handed him another envelope. This one changed everything. He opened it slowly. I watched confusion become shock, then panic. Mom, Vanessa grabbed the paper. What is this? It means, I said softly, the trust has been amended. You see, after my husband died, everything was structured to pass directly to Daniel one day. The house, savings, investments, everything. Not anymore. Vanessa stared at the document. You gave it away? Most of it, I said. To who? I looked at her for a very long moment, then answered. A children's cardiac foundation. Daniel's face collapsed. You disinherited me? No, I corrected gently. I redirected what you clearly never valued. He looked physically sick, and that's when I finally saw it. Not grief, not heartbreak, fear, because somewhere deep down, they'd already counted my money as theirs. Vanessa's father muttered, Jesus Christ. Daniel stepped closer. Mom, please, don't do this because of one fight. One fight? My voice cracked for the first time. One fight was your wife calling me your live-in ATM. His head snapped toward Vanessa. She froze. I kept going. One fight was hearing her tell her mother this house would belong to her soon anyway. Vanessa went pale white. Daniel looked horrified. You said that? She stammered immediately. It was a joke. No, I interrupted quietly. The joke was me believing I was loved here. Nobody moved. Then came the final twist, the one none of them saw coming. I pulled out my phone, pressed play. And suddenly Vanessa's voice echoed across the driveway. This old woman would die alone without us. Her mother laughing, then Vanessa again. Honestly, once the house transfers to Daniel, we're selling this place immediately. Daniel stared at her like she'd turned into a stranger. The recording continued. She's emotionally attached to that stupid car because dead people are all she has left. The silence afterward was devastating. Vanessa whispered, You recorded me? I looked at her steadily. You were sitting on my patio in my house, mocking my dead husband. Daniel backed away from her. Oh my God! She reached for him instantly. Daniel, listen. But he pulled away. For the first time in years, I saw shame on my son's face. Real shame, not performative guilt, the kind that hits when denial finally dies. He looked at me with tears forming. Mom, I didn't know. And maybe he didn't. At least not all of it. But here's the thing about weak people. Sometimes they don't participate in cruelty. They just allow it. And that can destroy someone just as deeply. Vanessa suddenly became furious. You had no right recording private conversations. I laughed softly. You had no right taking my car. She screamed then, actually screamed, accusing me of manipulation, emotional abuse, punishment. But nobody was listening anymore, not even her parents, because the truth changes room temperature. And everyone could feel it now. Daniel sat down slowly on the porch steps like his legs stopped working. I almost felt sorry for him, almost. Then he whispered something that shattered me completely. I thought you'd always forgive us. There it was, the real disease, not greed, expectation. He genuinely believed my love removed consequences. I walked over and sat beside him quietly. When your father died, I said softly, I spent years terrified you'd grow up without kindness in your life. Tears slid down his face, and I gave so much of it. I forgot to teach you respect. He covered his mouth, crying silently. Vanessa stood frozen near the driveway, realizing the ground beneath her life was collapsing. And then Karma delivered one last beautiful detail. The tow truck driver approached holding paperwork. Mom, he said to me carefully, inspection photos show the rear damage likely exceeds $6,000. Vanessa's father looked stunned. $6,000? It's a Mercedes. The driver shrugged. Insurance wouldn't cover it. Unauthorized drivers, out-of-state usage, policy violation. Guess who became financially responsible? The woman who said it was just a car. By noon, her parents were loading suitcases into a rental Uber. By evening, Vanessa had locked herself inside the guest house, crying hysterically, while Daniel sat alone on my back patio staring at nothing. Around sunset, he finally spoke. I ruined everything. I looked out at the trees moving in the wind. No, I said quietly. You revealed everything. There's a difference. He cried harder after that. Not loud, just broken. I love her, he whispered. I nodded. I know. What do I do? That question stayed in the air a long time. Then I answered honestly. Figure out whether love and respect can survive in the same room. He moved out with Vanessa 2 weeks later into a tiny apartment across town. The divorce happened 11 months after that. Turns out people who build relationships on entitlement usually collapse once consequences arrive. Daniel and I didn't speak much for a while. Some wounds need silence before healing. Then one rainy Tuesday, almost a year later, he showed up alone at my door carrying grocery bags. Older, somehow softer. He looked tired in a way heartbreak causes. I brought dinner, he said quietly. I let him in. We ate in silence at first. Then he looked at the framed photo of his father. I finally understand why you protected that car. I didn't answer immediately. Then he said something that made my chest ache. She never loved this family. She loved access to it. I looked at my son carefully. Pain had changed him. Sometimes pain is the only thing strong enough to interrupt arrogance. I'm sorry, he whispered. And this time he meant it. Not because he lost money. Not because his marriage failed, but because he finally saw me clearly, not as a resource, not as a safety net, as his mother, a human being. We still aren't perfect now. Some cracks never fully disappear. But respect returned where entitlement once lived. And strangely enough, that mattered more to me than revenge ever did. A month ago, Daniel helped me wash the Mercedes in the driveway, just like his father used to. The sun was setting, music played softly from an old speaker. And for the first time in years, peace finally sat beside me again. Before he left, he touched the hood of the car gently and smiled. You know, he said, Dad had good taste. I smiled back. Yeah, I whispered. He really did.